be in high school. You didn't have to be, a tax-paying adult. If you lived through 1968, you never forget the basic sequence of that story. And research help is a tricky thing because researchers can give you data and maps of stuff, but they can never anticipate your writing style or your writing needs. And so literally, in the stack of research that was assembled for me before I ever sat down to write, literally Bobby Kennedy's assassination was one sentence. Martin Luther King's assassination was one sentence. And those were each chapters, when I had to come to do it. And so writers can talk about having research help, and it only gets you so far. You have to know how you're going to tell that story yourself.
Question here in the middle.
I'm a Vietnam veteran. I read your book and I thought it was fantastic. I was in Vietnam all during 1968 until December, so much of this filled in the information that I was lacking. I was wondering if you would go over the impact that Albert Lowenstein had on that election.
Well, this is my understanding of Albert Lowenstein is a product of my research. I'd heard a lot about him, but I'd never really sat down and read his story. He was a character who no longer exists in our politics. He was an extraordinary guy who somehow got to know everyone who mattered in democratic politics at the time, from Eleanor Roosevelt to Bobby Kennedy, and he inserted himself in situations with these people where you just, to this day, I stare at it, I can't figure out how he did it. But he was the very first person who was trying to tell Bobby Kennedy, we need someone to run for president against LBJ so that we can put the Vietnam War on the ballot. And Bobby Kennedy listened to him, and he thought about it, and he wanted to do it, and he didn't want to do it, and he decided not to do it. And so then Al Lowenstein went around and talked to other senators. He talked to Eugene McCarthy. Eugene McCarthy said, I don't want to do it, you should talk to George McGovern. George McGovern said, I don't want to do it, you should talk to Gene McCarthy. And it went around like this for a while. And eventually, very much to Al Lowenstein's surprise, Gene McCarthy was the one who decided to do it. And it really broke Al Lowenstein's heart that Bobby Kennedy did not decide to do it until it was too late for Al Lowenstein, because he was already committed to Gene McCarthy. But I know with a certainty that there would not have been an anti-war candidacy in the Democratic Party in 1968, and that, more than anything else, is what made it such a historic election. There wouldn't have been an anti-war candidate if Al Lowenstein hadn't been there and running around to those offices and building a network of college supporters and college Democrats, and this massive amount of organized. There was no word for what Al Lowenstein was doing. Now we would call it something like a community organizer, political organizer thrown together, and a protest organizer. And he was a truly remarkable force in this story. And I was glad to give him his due in this book, because I didn't know the role he played until I really dug into this.
Okay, thank you.
Got this.
How long were you there?
I was there from December 67 until December 68, and then I went back for another 6 months. But let me tell you.
Are you excited?
You were there for the absolute worst of it.
Well, yeah, but there were a lot of people have worse. But let me tell you this. I really appreciate your references to Albert Lowenstein. In your free time, I'll read this article by him.
Oh, I will.
Okay?
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. And I love your work on the West Wing, especially as
It's part of
his father. So thank you very much.
May I shake your hands? Thanks. Nice to meet you.
Great job.